Hello everybody, in this video I will show you how to make Flex Picture Ebooks with the Flex Ebook builder we developed. The purpose of this Flex Ebook builder is to bundle together text and loose images into a final book which can then be viewed on any device, while exporting into multiple languages at once. So if you want to make your own Flex Ebooks, this is a perfect place to get started. The software is open source, so you can download it over the link we'll provide you. You can either follow the installer or just use it straight out of the box. I also recommend that you get Thorium, which is an ebook reader, because it allows you to conveniently look at the ebooks on your computer. I will show you how to use it by going through the creation process of a book step by step. To do this, I've already gathered all of the text and information into a spreadsheet. Being organized makes this process a lot easier because you're working with so much text at once. I've also put all of the images into a folder and got all of the dependencies in the right place. I suggest that you check if they still work, because if they don't, like if the image is black, then this is possibly because you're missing a file. The program will show you later which files these are and you can point to them, but it is still better to get everything working at the beginning. We will show you how to create these images in a different video, so if you want to learn about it, I suggest that you watch those first. I will provide the images I'm using in this tutorial so you can follow along. So after preparing everything, we can get right into the program. First, you should set the right language for you. This can be done through the button on the top left. The directories to place the EPUB files will be saved to, so it is smart to put this as a dedicated place you will find later on. If you've already made a project, you can load it from the recent project section, but this is a new installation, so I only have this one, which I made before. First is the name of the project. Setting this as something identifiable will be really useful in the future when you want to find it. Don't call it something like my first EPUB, because you don't know what that means after some time has passed. The publication languages are the languages the book will be published at. I have translations for English, French, and Italian, so I will enable those. Clicking Shift allows me to select more than one at a time. In the other settings section, you can disable audio narration in case you don't have MP3 files with an actor. For the sake of this tutorial though, I will disable this option because I do not have these files, but you can still use the computer voice narration that is inside of Thorium, like the screen reader. Include instructions refers to the instructions at the end of the books, and the settings are the page at the front where you, for example, select text size, fonts, and other options. I suggest you leave both in because it makes your book way more accessible, but if for some reason you don't want to include them, you can do it here. But again, I highly encourage you to leave it. Next, you will go to the metadata section. This is all of the information about the book. For example, title and identifier, which is the ISBN of your publication. Here you can add all of the authors, contributors, and publishers to your book, and they will be shown in the credits section. You should also set all of the accessibility metadata here, like mode, accessibility feature, hazards, and so on. If you're unsure what some of them mean, you can click on them and you will receive a short description. If you want further info, you can also click on the More button, and that brings up a more detailed information. To save time, I filled all of this in off screen, and I will now explain what all of these fields mean. Here in mode, I put all of the possible modes that the publication can be perceived through. I have both text as well as images, so I can put visual and textual. In the summary, I put short descriptions are provided, as I will provide alt text to all the images later. In most efficient, I again put visual and textual, as these two are both enough to get a full view of the story. And features, I just put alt text. The hazard section I filled with motion and sound, because these are both present in the animations of our images. By the way, all of these metadata will then be shown in Thorium in the hazard section or in the accessibility section at the front, so please fill them out because they help a lot of people. Next is the spine view. Here all of the contents of the ebooks can be selected. First, let's select the cover. You can add a different one for each language, which allows you to put text on your covers like a title. This also gives you the freedom to style them differently depending on the language. If you don't have any text, you can just use the same for all of your languages. And as always, please add some alt text that properly describes what is going on in the image. This text will be read through a screen reader, so it should be concise yet understandable. The next option is the menu illustration. Here you can select one of your images that will then be placed into the menu of your book. I'll put an example of how this looks on screen now. Let's click on page 1, which brings up this view, which allows you to fill in the actual page of the book. As you can see, there is a separate language option for each page. At the end of the process, the program will output a different language version of the book depending on what you put in the first page. You can put in narrations and images here as well. If you checked all of the images beforehand, they should appear on the bottom right after selecting them and look like you remember. And if they don't, you've possibly forgotten one of the CSS files, in which case the builder says that you're missing something, and then it points you to the possible location. And then you can just select it manually. Again, please add some alt text to your images, and I will link some resources on how to do this properly. If you filled in the first page, you can click on the plus sign to make a new empty page and repeat this process. You can also change the sequence of the pages through the arrows, or delete a page that you don't want through the trash can icon on the top right. I urge you to save as often as possible so you don't lose any data. And if something essential is missing, the program tells you what you still need to fill in. Like for example, if you forgot to put in a title for your project. I'll now fill in the rest of the pages and skip forward. This is where putting stuff in a spreadsheet really helps me stay organized and save some time. Lastly, you can fill out the credits section. This will be a text-based section at the end of the book. For example, if you want to personally thank someone, this is a proper place to do it. On the font page, you can select which fonts should be in the book. You can also import your own fonts, which I will do for the sake of this tutorial, but you don't have to. As you can see, you can only include a maximum of 6 fonts at a time. And this will look like this in the final book. Lastly, if everything is finished, you can export your ebooks through the publish section. Just write in the file name and press publish. I really urge you to call it something you will find later, because I tend to be messy with file names, which causes a lot of problems. This launch publish ebook tick lets you open the book through Thorium after you're done exporting. So if you filled out everything, then you just press publish, and then this mark will appear on the top right. And the finished ebook will look like this.